Hello. All right, so this is the last little mini video about siloing and internal linking. I'll probably do one or two more just answering questions because I'm getting some questions coming in, which is awesome, some of your questions. Anyways, I'm Terry Samuels. I'm the owner of Salterra Digital Services, SEO University, SEO Spring Training, all that kind of good stuff. Like, follow, all that things out there that are out there about us. Anyways, today we're going to talk about internally linking to, I guess what they call ancillary pages, or kind of forgotten pages. Pages like the about page, your sitemap page, pages about maybe you have some landing pages that you use for pay-per-click on your website. Maybe you have some pages that you even are considered orphan. I'm a big believer and a big user of Link Whisperer. I love that software. Been using it for years. Link Whisperer is a very good tool to help you, especially when you start getting a large, your website's growing quite a bit and you need to get a better snapshot of, what links are linking where, what pages need more links, what pages are orphaned. Orphan pages, orphan pages are what we call a dead end. So let's say, for instance, that you do a blog post, and the blog post was this morning, and you internally linked all this stuff out and all this great thing, you post your blog post. Well, the one thing that we didn't do, or you didn't do, is you didn't put a link back to that new blog post. So the brand new one from this morning, you didn't go back to one 2 months ago or 3 months ago or whatever and link to the new one. So that page right now is considered orphan. So, it's probably going to be seen, obviously, especially if your sitemap is set to last modified. The search engine will probably see this new blog post, and it'll probably see the internal links and go out and do its crawling like it normally does. But if this blog's like 2 or 3 weeks old or a month old, and there's no links coming into it, it becomes just lost in the realm of all these blog posts. So considered orphan. Some people consider it orphan. It has no links coming in or no links going out. Either way, it needs to be fixed. You cannot have orphan pages. You can't have dead end pages. So that's one of the biggest things. But when you start thinking about when do I anchor to the about page? The about page is a pretty powerful page. In most websites, especially if the about page is done correctly, it'll be the second or third most popular page on a website. Because people want to know about you. People want to do more research, especially if you're in the medical industry, and you have to still build that trust. So people will spend time in your about page. That's why I'm such a big proponent on making sure your about page is just awesome. So anyways, when do you do that? When do you link to your about page? So there's a couple different philosophies. You can do it through an author box. So if you ever go to Salterra site and you want to see how I lay out my blogs, they're all right there. I just did a press release, I think, a couple days ago. And you'll see how I lay out my blogs. We lay out the blogs with the blog content, frequently asked questions about that topic, and then the Trust Us box. We don't use About Us anymore. It's all Trust Us. And so that Trust Us box, it'll have an anchor in there, Salterra Digital Services, and I'll link it to the About page. Or for more information about Salterra, I'll link it to the About page. So, one of the things that, don't do this though if you don't have an About page that you're very proud of. If you just have a normal couple paragraphs that just really don't say much about you or the people that work for you or who you are as a owner, then you're probably just going to be wasting a backlink. But take the time to do really incredible about pages and be proud of them and send links to them, send people to them, and watch your traffic going there. Switch up your anchor text, Salterra, web design. Switch up, Salterra SEO for medical spas. Switch up your anchor text that are going to your about page and be able to cover there. Another one that I see people do, and I really don't quite understand this one, is that, those privacy pages, terms of service, refunds, all that stuff needs to be in the footer or the copyright bar and all that stuff where it normally is. But I've seen people contextually link to those, especially like terms of service. I'm not sure that, I can't think of an instance that I would write a piece of content to where I'd want them to, now you've read this piece of content, this content did I write this piece of content to boost up my terms of service, or did I write this piece of content to boost up my product or service that I want to get a lead for? So, pay attention to the ancillary pages. Are they getting backlinks? Do they have internal links to them? What is internally linking to them? And especially if you've set these things to no index, then if they're set to no index and you keep backlinking to them internally, Google probably index it. Google, the no index has always been a recommendation and not a mandatory thing. Google does try to follow that, but we've all seen no index pages showing up in the SERPs or site colon, those type of things. So anyways, thank you, and I'll be answering some more questions around siloing and internal anchoring. So if you have them, bring it on. The next series is going to be schema, baby. We'll talk soon. Thank you.